When hardship enters your life, the first assumption many people make is that something has gone wrong, that Allah is displeased, that you are being punished, or that you have somehow failed. But this assumption itself needs to be challenged. In Islam, difficulty is not automatically a sign of rejection. In fact, very often it is the opposite. Hardship can be a form of divine attention. It is Allah, in His wisdom, turning you towards something greater than comfort, growth, awareness, and closeness to Him. If hardship were proof of Allah's anger, then the most beloved people to Allah would have lived the easiest lives. Yet, when we look at the lives of the prophets, we see a pattern that completely overturns this thinking. They were tested in ways most of us could not imagine: loss, rejection, betrayal, illness, and fear. These were not people distant from Allah, these were people chosen by Him. Their struggles were not a sign of being pushed away, but a sign of being prepared. From a psychological perspective, comfort rarely forces reflection. When everything is easy, the human mind drifts. We become less intentional, less aware of our dependence, less connected to purpose. Hardship interrupts this autopilot mode. It forces you to pause and ask deeper questions. Why am I here? What truly matters? Where do I turn when control slips from my hands? These questions are not accidents, they are invitations. Allah knows the nature of the human heart. He knows that when life flows smoothly, many hearts forget, not out of arrogance, but out of distraction. Hardship removes the illusion of self-sufficiency. It humbles the ego and softens the heart. Suddenly, dua becomes sincere. Prayer becomes personal. The connection becomes real. In that sense, hardship is not cruelty, it is care. Philosophically, love is not proven by comfort alone. A teacher who never challenges their student does not love their growth. A parent who never corrects their child does not love their future. True care involves guidance, discipline, and sometimes discomfort. Allah's love operates on a much higher level. He is not invested in your temporary ease alone. He is invested in your eternal success. This is why hardship often comes at moments when your faith is capable of deepening. Allah does not test randomly. He tests with precision. The test arrives not because you are weak, but because you can carry it, even if you don't yet believe that about yourself. The struggle you are facing is not evidence that Allah has turned away. It may be evidence that He is working within you. And this understanding changes everything. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you begin to ask, "What is Allah teaching me through this?" Instead of resentment, you develop reflection. Instead of despair, you develop trust. This shift does not remove the pain, but it gives the pain meaning, and meaning transforms suffering into strength. So when hardship knocks on your door, do not rush to label it as punishment. Pause, reflect, look deeper. It may be the clearest sign that Allah is paying attention to your heart, shaping your journey, and preparing you for something you cannot yet see. If Allah were done with you, He would leave you untouched, but if He loves you, He refines you. After understanding that hardship is not a sign of rejection, the next layer of wisdom is to recognize that every test carries mercy within it, even when that mercy is hidden from view. Human beings naturally judge experiences by how they feel in the moment. Pain is labeled as bad, ease as good. But divine wisdom operates on a scale far beyond immediate emotion. What feels heavy today may be protecting you from something far more destructive tomorrow. Allah makes it clear that no soul is burdened beyond what it can bear. This is not poetic reassurance. It is a statement of reality. The weight you are carrying right now has been measured precisely for you, not for someone stronger, not for someone more patient, but for you as you are in this moment. The problem is not the size of the test. It is our limited ability to see what the test is producing within us. Psychologically, difficulty often awakens strengths we did not know existed: patience, resilience, emotional intelligence, self-control. These qualities are rarely developed in times of ease. They are forged under pressure. Just as muscles grow through resistance, the inner self grows through challenge. Mercy does not always arrive in the form of relief. Sometimes it arrives as endurance. There are moments when Allah closes one door so firmly that you cannot reopen it, no matter how hard you try. At the time it feels cruel. You replay the loss, the failure, the missed opportunity. But with time, clarity emerges. You realize that had that door remained open, it would have led you away from your values, your faith, or your peace. What felt like loss was actually protection. This is where trust becomes essential. Trust does not mean you understand the plan. It means you believe in the planner. Human knowledge is limited to the present and the past, while Allah's knowledge encompasses outcomes we cannot imagine. When something is taken from you, it is not always because you were unworthy of it. Sometimes it is because it was unworthy of where Allah intends to take you. From a philosophical lens, mercy is not the absence of pain. It is the presence of purpose. Pain without meaning breaks people. Pain with meaning builds them. Allah embeds meaning within hardship, even when it is hidden beneath layers of confusion and emotion. The believer's task is not to demand immediate clarity, but to remain anchored in trust until clarity arrives. This understanding also protects the heart from bitterness. When you believe that hardship is empty suffering, resentment grows. You become angry at life, at people, and eventually even at Allah. But when you recognize that hardship carries wisdom, even if you cannot yet name it, you remain soft. You grieve, but you do not collapse. You struggle, but you do not lose direction. Many people only recognize the mercy of their hardship years later. They look back and say, if that had not happened, I would not be who I am today. That statement is not accidental. It is the quiet acknowledgement that Allah was guiding them even when they felt lost. So when hardship surrounds you, do not rush to escape it at the cost of your faith. Walk through it with awareness. Ask Allah not only for relief, but for understanding. Because sometimes the greatest mercy is not the removal of the test, but the transformation that happens within you while enduring it. What you cannot yet see may be saving you, and what feels like pain today may be the very mercy you thank Allah for tomorrow. Once a person begins to see hardship as meaningful and merciful, the next realization is even deeper. Trials do not only shape your character in this world, they directly impact your standing with Allah in the next. In Islam, hardship is not spiritually neutral. It is active. It does something. Every difficulty you endure patiently is working on your record, even when you feel like nothing is happening. The Prophet ﷺ taught us that no fatigue, illness, worry, grief, or even the prick of a thorn afflicts a believer except that Allah removes sins through it. This reframes pain entirely. What feels like loss is, in reality, purification. Just as water cleans the body, hardship cleans the soul. And often, the more sincere a person is, the more they feel the weight of that cleansing process. From a psychological point of view, guilt and unresolved inner conflict quietly exhaust the human mind. Carrying spiritual weight without realizing it can lead to anxiety, restlessness, and emptiness. Allah's mercy is such that He does not allow these burdens to accumulate indefinitely. Through hardship, He lightens the soul even when the process feels heavy. Some people ask, why do I keep being tested? But a better question may be, what is Allah elevating me from? Because purification is never the final step. After cleansing comes elevation. Hardship does not merely erase sins, it raises ranks. The patience you show in private, the restraint you exercise when no one is watching, and the trust you hold when answers are delayed. These are all acts of worship that carry immense weight with Allah. Consider how often silent struggles go unnoticed by people, no applause, no recognition, yet in the sight of Allah these moments may outweigh years of visible worship. A tear shed in sincerity, a prayer whispered in exhaustion, a heart that chooses faith over bitterness, these are signs of spiritual maturity. Philosophically, this shifts how success is defined. Success is no longer the absence of difficulty. It is the presence of patience. Failure is not falling into hardship, it is allowing hardship to pull you away from Allah. When this understanding settles in the heart, the believer stops measuring life by comfort and starts measuring it by closeness. This also explains why some of the most righteous people appear to live the hardest lives. Their trials are not signs of spiritual weakness, but of spiritual capacity. Allah does not raise ranks cheaply. Elevation requires sincerity, and sincerity is often proven in moments of discomfort, not ease. Psychologically, this gives suffering dignity. Pain becomes something you carry with purpose, not something that defines or destroys you. You stop seeing yourself as a victim of circumstance and begin to see yourself as someone being refined for a higher station. This perspective does not remove grief, but it prevents despair. And here is the most important part. Allah is fully aware of every moment you endure. Nothing is overlooked. Nothing is forgotten. Even when you feel unseen by the world, you are fully seen by the one who matters most. Your patience is not disappearing into silence, it is being stored with precision. So when hardship weighs on your heart, remember this. Every test you endure with faith is either removing something harmful from your soul or raising you closer to Allah. And often it is doing both at once. After purification and elevation, hardship serves another profound purpose. It redirects the heart back to Allah. When life is stable and predictable, people often rely on systems, routines, and their own sense of control. Faith remains present, but it can become secondary. Hardship disrupts this illusion of independence. It exposes how fragile our control truly is, and gently, sometimes forcefully, turns our attention back to the one who was always in control. From a psychological standpoint, human beings seek security. When that security is threatened through loss, fear, or uncertainty, the mind searches for something stable to hold on to. If a person's faith is alive, hardship naturally drives them toward Allah. Dua becomes more honest. Prayer becomes less mechanical and more urgent. The heart speaks in a language it rarely uses during ease, sincerity. This is not accidental. Allah knows what brings His servants back to Him. He knows what awakens remembrance in hearts that have grown distracted. Hardship is often that awakening. It is not meant to humiliate. It is meant to realign. Sometimes Allah allows comfort to be removed so the soul can remember where comfort truly comes from. Philosophically, this reveals a deeper truth about human nature. We are not built to be self-sufficient. We are built to depend either on unstable worldly supports or on the ever-living. When worldly supports fail, it creates space for divine reliance. That space is where faith deepens, not as an idea, but as an experience. Many people only truly learn how to make dua when they are desperate. And while desperation is painful, it strips away pretense. You stop worrying about wording, about appearances, about being impressive. You speak honestly. That honesty is beloved to Allah. It is the kind of connection that transforms belief from something inherited into something lived. There is also a subtle mercy in being pushed back to Allah. When hardship turns you toward prayer, it protects you from turning toward harmful escapes. Without that redirection, people often cope through anger, addiction, or self-destruction. Faith becomes a safeguard. Even in pain, it keeps the soul anchored. This reconnection also restores perspective. When you are close to Allah, you remember that life is larger than this moment. That loss is not the end. That delay is not denial. That what you are facing now is part of a much longer journey. This perspective does not minimize pain, but it prevents it from overwhelming your identity. Psychologically, this reduces anxiety. When you believe everything depends on you, pressure becomes unbearable. When you remember that outcomes belong to Allah, responsibility becomes balanced. You still act, you still strive, but you no longer carry the weight of control. That release is not weakness, it is wisdom. And sometimes, the most powerful transformation is this. You begin hardship feeling distant from Allah, and you emerge feeling closer than ever before. The test becomes the turning point. The pain becomes the doorway. So if hardship has brought you back to prayer, back to remembrance, back to humility, then it has already succeeded in one of its greatest purposes. Because a heart that returns to Allah even through tears is safer than a heart that drifts away in comfort. When a person reconnects with Allah through hardship, the next challenge is learning how to remain steady within it. This is where patience, or sabr, becomes transformative. Sabr is often misunderstood as passive endurance, as though it means suppressing emotion or pretending that pain does not exist. In reality, sabr is an active, conscious decision to trust Allah while moving forward despite the weight of difficulty. From a psychological perspective, pain becomes destructive when it convinces a person that they are powerless. Sabr restores agency. It reminds you that while you may not control circumstances, you do control your response. Choosing patience is choosing meaning over chaos. It is choosing faith over panic, and that choice, repeated over time, reshapes the inner self. Sabr does not deny grief. Even the prophets experienced sorrow, tears, and exhaustion. What separated them was not the absence of emotion, but the presence of trust. They allowed themselves to feel, but they did not allow pain to dictate their values or decisions. This balance is critical. Suppressed pain breaks people. Directed pain strengthens them. Philosophically, patience reframes time. Much of human suffering comes not from hardship itself, but from resistance to its duration. We want immediate relief, instant answers, quick outcomes. Sabr teaches the heart to respect divine timing. It accepts that growth unfolds at a pace chosen by Allah, not by human urgency. There is also power in delayed outcomes. When relief does not arrive instantly, something else develops, depth. Character is not formed in moments, it is formed through consistency. Every day you remain patient, you are building inner strength, discipline, and emotional maturity. These qualities do not disappear when the test ends. They stay with you long after ease returns. Psychologically, this transforms pain into power. Instead of breaking under pressure, the patient believer becomes resilient. They learn how to remain calm under stress, how to think clearly in uncertainty, and how to act ethically even when emotionally strained. These are not small gains. They are life-altering capacities. Sabr also protects faith. Many people lose their connection to Allah not because the test was too hard, but because impatience pushed them toward resentment. Patience guards the heart from bitterness. It keeps hope alive even when circumstances remain unchanged. And hope, sustained over time, is one of the strongest forces in the human mind. It is important to remember that sabr is not silence in the face of injustice or passivity in the face of responsibility. You still seek solutions, you still make effort, you still ask Allah for relief. Patience simply means that while you strive, your heart remains anchored. You do not abandon your values just because the road is long. Over time, those who practice sabr notice something remarkable. The hardship may remain, but it no longer controls them. The pain loses its authority, fear loosens its grip. Faith becomes less reactive and more rooted. This is when hardship stops feeling like a burden and starts feeling like training. And when relief finally comes, as it always does, you realize that patience did more than help you survive. It changed who you are. It gave you strength you did not know you possessed and clarity you could not have gained otherwise. Pain tests you, but patience transforms you, and that transformation is worth more than immediate relief. After understanding patience, growth, and reconnection, the final truth brings everything together. Hardship is never permanent. Ease is not a possibility in Islam. It is a promise, and when Allah promises something, doubt has no place. Relief may not come when you want it, or in the form you expect, but it always comes in the way that is best for you. One of the most powerful shifts a believer can make is learning to trust outcomes without needing to control timing. Much of human anxiety comes from urgency. We want results now, answers now, closure now. But Allah operates beyond haste. Delay is not denial. Delay is design, and often, what feels like prolonged difficulty is actually Allah preparing the heart to receive ease without losing gratitude or humility. Psychologically, hope is a stabilizing force. When the mind believes pain is endless, it collapses inward. But when the heart knows relief is guaranteed even if unseen, it remains steady. This is why the Quran does not say hardship might be followed by ease. It states it clearly, and then it repeats it, because humans forget under pressure, and Allah reminds them. Ease does not always arrive by removing the problem. Sometimes it arrives by strengthening you to carry it differently. Sometimes the situation remains, but fear is replaced with calm, confusion is replaced with clarity. Weakness is replaced with resilience. That too is relief, and often it is more powerful than a change in circumstances. Philosophically, this teaches trust at the highest level. Not trust in events, not trust in people, but trust in Allah's wisdom. When you truly believe that Allah will never abandon you, hardship loses its ability to define you. You stop living in survival mode and start living with purpose, even while waiting. There is also wisdom in postponed ease. Immediate relief can sometimes undo the very growth hardship created. Allah knows when ease would soften you too quickly or return you to distraction. So He times it perfectly, not late, not early, exactly when your heart is ready. Many people look back on the most painful periods of their lives and realize something surprising. If ease had come earlier, they would not have learned what they needed to learn. They would not have grown, they would not have changed direction. The delay was not cruelty, it was care. This understanding frees you from despair. You may still feel tired, you may still feel uncertain, but deep down something remains unshaken, certainty. And certainty is powerful. It allows you to keep moving forward without needing constant reassurance. It allows you to worship without conditions. It allows you to trust even when you do not see, and when ease finally arrives. And you recognize it not just as relief, but as fulfillment. You see how every test, every tear, every prayer fit together with precision. You realize that Allah was not only watching you struggle, He was guiding you through it. So if you are in hardship today, hold firmly to this truth. Allah never breaks His promises. What you are carrying has an end. What you are enduring has meaning, and what you are waiting for is already written. Walk forward with trust, because the one who tested you is the same one who guarantees your relief.